Hello, everybody, and welcome in to Cinema Surprise, presented by the Penny Bloom Podcast. Today, we continue with my fourth pick of the project, and my pick this week was La Chimera. It premiered at Cannes on May 26th, 2023, and it was written and directed by Alice Rohrwacher. I'm Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. I'm excited to talk La Chimera today, as this is one I've been hearing a lot about since last year at Cannes. The Cannes Film Festival, obviously, it's actually just concluded within the last couple days, recording wise. I shouldn't break the fourth wall like that. That was like 8 weeks ago now. But it was I was super disappointed that it wasn't going to be released in America for a very long time. I remember it didn't come out in America till March of 2024.
Oh, wow.
So it just hit theaters. It never made it to the AMC near us. I wanted to see it really bad, couldn't. So I had to wait until last night when I watched La Chimera in anticipation of this podcast. And I'm so very happy I did. I'm happy to have gotten to know, Josh O'Connor a little better after Emma
Mm-hmm.
and Challengers. It was nice to get immersed into this with him, and goddamn is he good. I fucking adored this movie. I thought that it was beautiful to look at, unbelievable visually,
Mm.
and it provides this dreamlike visage of 1980s Italy that I think is utterly astounding. It could be 20 years earlier, it could be 20 years later. And the fact that it never really matters, but the aesthetic permeates the whole time is fucking wonderful. How did you feel about La
Mm.
Chimera?
Man, no, yeah, I didn't even really think of the time period, but yeah, it does just kind of meld. It is kind of just not, it does feel like before, but for some reason it feels like it could be right now,
It's
at
a
the same
modernity
time.
to it, yes.
But no, yeah,
That's
it was.
purposeful also. We'll get to that.
Man, it was beautiful. I mean, I love the aspect ratio changes and the film just borders, whenever they did change, and it wasn't just black, I
Hmm.
don't know, it kind of had a grain to it the whole time, or I don't know, sometimes the grain was harsher,
Hmm.
depending on the aspect ratio, or there was a filter on it depending on what was
It's the
happening.
type of film that
Um,
they were using. They
man,
they switched between film stocks throughout the movie,
oh,
between 16 millimeter and 35 millimeter,
okay.
and
So it's just
and
in the
it's
nature
literal
of it.
literal film. Yes,
Wow.
like
Okay. Man,
and
that's
that's
so
what's cool
cool.
is that using archaeology, where you're diving into the past and history, and you know
Mhm.
there's a lot of flares in this where they do revert to the old timey sped up silent film
Yeah.
action
Get
sequences
in
and
the
stuff.
car and
Yeah,
I
yes,
don't know,
exactly. And like the music speeds up and everything. Like, yeah, like
mhm.
I think that there is an obvious love of cinema that permeates through this movie, and I think that there is a love of humanity and life and where we go next. And I think that that's really, really cool. There's a thing that I get from this movie where, like, initially upon finishing it last night, I felt kind of like I did after Arrival, where I was like, okay, this movie is grappling with death and how we reflect upon the dead and how we miss them once they're gone, and how, but there's nothing we can do to change it. But the more I've gotten to sit with it, I've thought of it more as being about the beyond and trying to find it and trying to get there, um and gain access to it almost, which
Mm.
is without dying, because there is it, and it's complicated. One of the things that really this movie reminded me of is an old Greek myth, um about Orpheus and Eurydice is how I'm going to pronounce it. Eurydice. It might be Eurydice, Eurydice. I don't know. Orpheus and Eurydice. Orpheus and Eurydice get married, and on the day of their marriage, Eurydice gets bitten by a venomous snake and dies. So Orpheus goes into the underworld and begs Hades and the lords who oversee it for her to regain access to their world. And it's him trying to gain access to that world, him trying to find her again,
Hmm.
and then him ultimately trying to bring her back to the land of the living. But and this is where the story itself deviates from what I think the myth kind of does. But ultimately, he looks. The rule was like you can't look back at her until you are in the land of the living. Do not look at her until you are there and you know she is there. Um, but he looks back too early, and she's lost to him forever.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
and
Huh.
I think that there is a certain degree here where Arthur's lack of interest in profit and his he obviously has a different sentimentality towards what they're doing versus the rest of the um what Tombarils.
Yeah.
Is that
What
what they're called?
is that just like grave
Tombaroli.
robber or just
Tombaroli.
like
Tomb Raider.
oh okay. Oh.
Tomb
Okay.
Raider.
There you go.
Tombaroli.
Yeah. And
Yes,
is he does he have some sort of gift, like how he finds these, like with the stick and
mm.
everything? Did I miss something there or does he
No,
just,
they never explain that. They
he
never
just
explain that.
hmm,
It's just he uses a divining rod and finds stuff. I think he has a connection to the beyond, as I was saying. I don't think it's
hmm,
strictly a connection to the
mm-hmm.
dead. Um,
Is he
you could
already
perceive it as
dead?
him knowing. There you go. Um, there's a line from a poem by Christina Campo, which I actually looked into it after to see if it was an influence in any way because it felt like it was, and it was. Alicia Rohrwacher has mentioned it in an interview,
Mm-hmm.
and it starts with a line that says, "There are two worlds, and I come from the other."
Hmm.
And it feels like we're in Italy. He's an Englishman. He doesn't fit in. Even in the end, whenever you think he's found solace, you think he's found peace, you think he's in the right place, he's surrounded by women and children. It's obvious this isn't,
Hmm.
he's not fitting like a glove. There is
Sure.
no place in this
Hmm.
world that actually suits him. He doesn't belong here. He belongs with Benyamina in the beyond,
Hmm.
wherever that might be. And I think there is a certain
Okay. Yeah, maybe he is actually alive in the movie, not
yeah,
but he's just
and
already dead, metaphorically. Like this
yes,
world is
100%.
not it's not
It's
his world
not
anymore.
his.
Yeah, it,
Hmm.
it, it used to be and now it's not.
Deeply romantic. It's a deeply romantic sentiment. It
Yeah.
was his world until Benyamina died,
Mm-hmm.
which is why ultimately I love Italia. I love Italia in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
but there's never a point in the movie where you can tell it's clicking on both sides,
Yeah,
you
no.
know? And even
That's
when it
true.
does, you kind of go, this doesn't feel like it's happening organically. It's
Mm-mm.
almost like he's trying one last time to connect himself to this world when when it doesn't work the way he thinks, he leaves and he finds
Oh.
his gate. I view it as the gate to the underworld,
Hmm.
what he accesses um, at the
Mm-hmm.
end there. Um, Now, obviously, there is the perspective that he dies there, which is 100% fair and
Yeah.
probably what happens.
Yeah.
But it connects to a shot earlier in the movie that I think is really, really compelling. Um, Early on, you see the thread unwinding from her dress and getting stuck in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to pull it out. Now, there's a few ways you could perceive this, and the way that my hopeful side,
Mm-hmm.
which is the idea that the living earth is for some reason more valuable than the afterlife, there's an argument to be made there too. What makes life here more important than the next life? It's just because we're living this life is why I think that this life would be more important. But
Mm-hmm.
um, where she's tethered to it, literally there is a part of her tethered to the
Oh.
ground, and when he finds his way through, she is no longer attached to it. She is now free. And now you
Oh.
could like, and that's why I'm like, there's all sorts of way you could perceive this movie. And we're only
Oh.
11 minutes into this fucking 10 minutes into this fucking episode, and I'm already deep in the fucking thick of it. There's all sorts of ways you could perceive
Oh
the way
my
this movie
God.
goes.
Because
Um,
my first initial thought with the red line or yarn is that whenever like the memory, it felt like it was slowly revealing itself like over time. Like we would get
Mhm.
a little bit more, and I thought it was like a mine or something that yeah, I don't know. You yanked it out and like an explosion killed her or something.
Kills
I
her.
don't
Yeah.
know. Because is it ever explained how she did like how
No.
she does die? Was
Nope.
she never?
We actually know very little about anything that happens prior to this movie. There is one part in the movie that indicates that Arthur just got out of jail at the beginning of the movie.
That's
Um,
yeah.
it's
Okay.
his homeboy who's like, "What did you like jail or something?"
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And the
The
ending gives you a
train.
revelation.
That's the very beginning. He's with those people at the very beginning.
He's haunted. He's not haunted. He's connected to them. There's a they he carries them with him. He has a connection to the dead that other people don't, and a connection to the beyond that other people don't. I think that's how I perceive
Yeah.
his ability.
I feel
Um,
like the stick thing or whatever, it was kind of just funny to me at the first couple times, but then whenever he did it in front of the other guys and he started walking on like the wooden planks and then
mhm.
avoiding the nails perfectly and like
Yeah.
walking, it felt like very like, you know what? This dude's got something, like there's something to this. It's not just kind of
No, yeah.
a whatever um throwaway thing. And I think I like that explanation of that he just isn't kind of this world anymore, and that's
Mhm.
maybe a way of seeing through to the other world somehow, and it's guiding him
Well, and they
along.
flash to that 16 millimeter nearly square aspect ratio every time he's dreaming, and we perceive it as dreaming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think it's a vision of what's on the other side. That's kind of how I view it because he's seeing her.
Oh.
He's seeing Benjamina, and we see at the end of the movie that it's not a memory. We see at the end of the movie that it is how how he is unearthed, if you will. Like it's there's a rebirth
Hmm.
thing going on at the end of the movie too that I think is
Yeah.
really interesting. And I like
So if you, I guess literally, it feels that if you want to take it very literally, she died earlier before the movie started.
yes,
He
100%.
feels lost without her. He dies at the very end after this accident in the
And he's
tomb, and
reunited with her.
now
Yeah.
he's back with
And
her.
and that
And
is a
um,
perfectly good read of the movie and a perfectly enjoyable and moving read of the movie. That's
but
why I'm like there's no obviously there are wrong reads of things, but like that I would 100% accept that. That's not
that's
something I'd be like
yeah.
you're reading that wrong.
I
No,
feel
like
like
that
that's
is
I feel like that's like the literal base bones of
yeah.
what you can pull apart, but that's not what it's really going for. I don't know.
No,
It is
there's
it
clearly a
There's something else there. Like he's
ethereal
haunted.
fairy
Yeah, he wouldn't
tale
be
thing going
haunted
on.
and like that train like the first train sequence, it does seem innocent. Those people don't seem like they're dead and that those are his ghosts, previous ghosts that he robbed.
You almost look ancient.
That's I mean, now looking back on it, it's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
come
like
on." Like how could
well,
I
and
not
it's
notice
he
it? But
wakes up and they're laughing at him, and then the guy goes, "You stink," like you need socks, you stink. This like and so immediately you're like, this is odd. You don't necessarily perceive it
yeah.
as not real, but you are going like there's something unreal about what's happening. There is something that is weird, just generally weird about what's going on in this scene. And then my favorite shot of the movie is actually very early on, even though it is a gorgeous movie that I
Mm.
mean, there's not a moment in this movie I don't think looks amazing.
Mhm.
Um, it's when the camera is in the hallway outside of his little carriage park.
Oh.
And the light is shimmering through the trees, and all the people are sticking their heads out of theirs, and they're looking through, looking at him, and he walks up to the window, and he looks back, and everyone's gone except for the dog. And there's
Mhm.
a really interesting relationship this movie has to animals as well. And the goddess of animals and
Oh.
La Chimera, there is a connection to I'm trying to remember. I know La Chimera as a an illusion, like a
Hmm. Oh yeah, I guess I haven't even thought of what the title has meant. What it does translate into.
but there's another one. There's another
Unrecognizable dream or unrealizable dream.
There
Um,
is also the Chimera in Greek mythology, which is a fire-breathing she monster having a lion's head, a goat's body, and a serpent's tail. So there's also like there is another animal tie there in the name. So like
hmm.
it is interesting to see, he cherishes this goddess of animals. It's what kind of snaps him, you think, out of his habits,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
temporarily. He's like, why would you destroy this thing? This is it's not for human eyes, like what's going on here? And I don't know, I think it's interesting to think
Mm-hmm.
of the relationship that animals might have to the beyond compared to us, and maybe they're playing with something there. um
Yeah, because that was a different. Like they all agreed. They're like this is not normal. This is a shrine. This is like
hmm
this is something special. And then there were all those little animals surrounding
hmm
it too. Um, I mean, and he was kind of like in a daze there too. Like while they were taking the head off, he was kind of just like not kind of there. And then like
hmm
whenever he snapped in and then he realized the head was gone and they were about to take off more, he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And he and just instantly like wanted to stop it, but like it's weird that it took him, why it was so fast. I don't know. They just decided to chop the head off so fast. It felt like I
hmm
don't know. So maybe he just didn't have time to react, or it seemed like that was just common practice for him.
Yeah, this,
That
like, they were like, we've done it before, we'll put it
yeah.
back together. Like, there's clearly something that's different
Hmm.
about this time. So I think that it's obvious that Benjamina's death is having an effect on him on the earthly plane, because I do think that there is I I don't think he's searching for artifacts. Like I said, I think he's searching for a way to find Benjamina again,
Mm-hmm.
however that might be. Whether in the literal sense it's a death wish, going underground, and it's a dangerous game. Maybe I die at some point. Like, it's like there is that possibility, but there's also like in there's a lot of ties to Greek mythology, I feel like, and finding the underworld. And when they go to those inverted shots, I don't think it's just a flashy camera choice. I think it's representing what
Mm.
what he's experiencing in that moment. Like, he is in another world. This
I
is what
see.
he's experiencing. Like, I don't think it's just like, whoa, this is offsetting. This is weird. He's experiencing something. Like, I think it's specifically what he is feeling is
Mm.
like he is on the other side.
Oh,
Um,
and I love whenever they first crack into it and then all the paintings just fade.
yeah.
You see them all just fade instantly, and it's like I don't know if that's for real. But if it feels like it makes sense. I don't know.
No, there's certainly something to the idea that something that hasn't been exposed to air
I
in
think
2000 years.
yeah, maybe not instantaneously like that. I don't know, but like definitely maybe it's just the idea is there that like it's
Mm,
now open, it's going to be trampled on, it's people are going to come in and out of there, be getting all this stuff. It's not, it's never going to be the same.
right. Well,
And
and
it
that's they mention the Etruscans a lot, the ancient inhabitants of Tuscany, which precede the Romans even.
mhm.
And they valued the beyond. They spent more time building graveyards than they did buildings,
Wow.
because they valued the next plane more than this plane. And they created art that was not meant to be seen again. They created things that
Wow.
were for the dead. They weren't for anybody else. So, like, and that's what I think Italia is really, really great at representing in this movie. She's kind of an inverse to Arthur's character, where they're both obviously in not great situations. They have certain ways to look at life, and there's Arthur's way, which is clearly not happy. He
Mm-hmm.
is a melancholic, angry, empty being. It feels like there is something within him that's not there, that, or there should be something within him that's not there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Italia has all this circumstance. She's got two daughters, seemingly of different fathers or two kids. I don't know if the younger one is a boy or girl. Two children, seemingly of different fathers, who she has to hide and she has to keep away from her boss, or her teacher. Um,
Man. Yeah. And like, is that his biological mother, Arthur's biological mother, or just like
no, that was
just
Benjamina's mother.
okay, yeah. And then so she's a I don't know, maybe just dementia or Alzheimer's something, I don't know, or she's just never been told the truth that her daughter's never coming back. Is that like the idea, or is it just, in her old age she forgot and they don't want to keep reminding her over and over, that she's not coming back? I don't.
I have a tough time reading that. I have a tough time even reading if the sisters know that she's dead.
Hmm.
There's a line that Flora delivers, played wonderfully by Isabella Rossellini, absolutely fantastic actress, where she says, "Benjamina, I could never hold her down. She was going to leave. She was going to go, and there was nothing I could do to stop that."
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, I do think, in my heart of hearts, that the daughters do know that Benjamin is dead. Um, but there is the chance that you could perceive it as them being like, you have to accept that when Benjamina left, it meant you were never going to see her again. Like that was it. Benjamin is not coming back. Um,
Cause
and I don't necessarily think that, but like they had to inform Italia of that, and Italia is always with Flora, and maybe there is a chance that Flora just doesn't believe it. Like there is like something in her mind that just won't
mm-hmm.
allow herself to believe that Benjamina is gone. Um,
Cause there a point where it was brought up like directly, where it was like, well, oh yeah, it was whenever it was like, we got to get out of this house, like it's with the dampness, it's too, you can feel it, we have to get out of here. And
yeah,
she's like, well, what if we need a place to stay if she comes back? And then they're like, she's not coming back. It was
yeah.
like kind of like a definite like that. Um, are those just her other daughters right there, or is that like
Seems
a
like
mother
it.
and then like is that like multiple
I'm pretty.
generations there, or is that
I
just
couldn't really
all?
tell you. I'm pretty sure they're
Um,
all her daughters. I'm
hmm.
pretty sure they're all her daughters. But
Okay.
um, yeah,
Um.
I'm talking about, and I do think that's what it is. It does feel more like
Oh,
they're
duh.
telling her she's dead. But
Okay. Yeah. I don't. I was just. I thought that it was. That she was possibly Arthur's biological mom, and I'm like, I don't know what I was like. Flora was his mom.
hmm,
But it was just at the beginning, like whenever she took him in, it was just like, oh, my only best, my only friend in the world, and like
right.
just threw her daughters just absolutely aside and just like didn't care. It was like, oh yeah, give him light a cigarette, and they're like, what in here? Like he can smoke? He's like, yeah, he's a man. That's why. Just because he's a man. Fuck it, and like just doing anything for him, and because man, at the beginning I didn't know how high Arthur's reign was gonna go. I'm like, this dude, everywhere he goes, people are either like afraid of him or they're just like giving him everything,
Hmm.
or and I'm like, what did this dude do? I'm like, what is this man? How is he connected?
He's
And
known as the Englishman, which is pretty fucking hard
we've got
everywhere,
eyes on you. Yeah, they're like,
especially the
and
Englishman.
we know
Yeah,
you. Yeah, and it's like, what?
yeah.
Like, what? Why? Like we don't know. I mean, maybe it's just his gift. It's like this dude finds graves at an uncanny amount. Like this dude
Hmm.
is like grave robbing. I don't think anyone thinks it's like okay. I
Right.
feel like even the grave robbers themselves have to realize like, damn, we're taking some stuff that's not ours. The justification is probably like, well, they're dead. We're not. We can use the
Yeah,
money now. I see that, but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah,
it's pretty unethical. Yeah.
but man, I think if you saw someone just doing it at this scale, at this rate, you'd be like, what's going on? I mean, maybe there is something, maybe you do got a gift or some sonar to dead things. We got to
Right.
like check that out. And then cuz I love how they're acting like they're the police, and they
Hmm.
pull up in the cars and they're like, "Oh my, the police up their budget? Like what's going on? Like how are they
Why are they
before
not
even?"
chasing
Yeah,
us?
yeah, and
Yeah.
then yeah, it's just nope. No, you're just getting conned.
Spartacus. Mhm.
Man, the long con. Didn't expect that in here, really at all. And what a crazy black market setup, in a pet store or whatever. You go to a pet store and then that one red button in that yellow room, that's a whole different vibe. That's
Whole different world back
at
there.
like Tenet,
Hmm.
freaking. So I don't know. I don't know what else to compare it to other than the Tenet time machine. I
Yeah,
don't know.
the
Um,
turnstile.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean that was just hilarious. It did just feel like a dream. Like felt like this was his hell at the end. That was like kind of my thought that was like, but maybe at the end it was, I don't know.
I tend to view like the movie throughout is his quote unquote hell, and what he achieves at the end is his heaven. I think that ultimately a life without Benyamina for him was not a life worth living. And he was doing everything he could to find her again somehow. Um, that's kind of how I perceive it anyway. Because even Italia, like his relationship to Italia, the moment she, she's trying, and
Mm,
she digs the vibe, and who wouldn't, you know?
yeah.
That's a fine man there.
Mm.
But the the moment on the beach where they're all about to go swimming and he's standing there and she like leans her head up against him and he like turns. It's like that
Yeah.
moment he like loses control of himself. Like it's not even him anymore.
Oh.
Um so like
Huh.
there's there's like a really interesting idea for me where it's like Italia is almost a uh, I don't know, a signal amplifier for him almost like whenever he feels the feelings she's experiencing, he's like it reminds him of Benjamina, like I think
Mm.
is ultimately the case. It reminds him like, oh, I should be feeling something stronger than I am right now, but I can't because I cannot stop thinking about the one who's gone, as it was put by his fellow Tomb Raider earlier in the movie, who was like, whenever they're about to take the photo for the first time, and
Mm-hmm.
she's like, you look lost," and he's like, "Oh, he's thinking about a woman. Are you thinking about it? Yeah, he can't focus on any other woman because he's always thinking about the one who's gone." You know, and I think that's ultimately what holds up him and Italia's relationship, and I think Italia represents. I mean, her name is literally Italia.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally Italy.
Like I feel like she just represented life and just kind of
Yeah.
like growth everywhere she went. Like that train station, it was meant for nobody, in her eyes, I guess. But in Flora's eyes, it was meant for everyone. It's a public building, meant for
Hmm.
everybody. But then when she goes there, it turns into a home and like this a better functioning school,
Right.
than what Flora had running, and maybe, yeah, maybe that is all it is that Italia was like Arthur's connection to the living, that it was just the pure connection to life. Because he did have like good moments with her. Like I don't know, like he did just watch her like on the dance floor,
Hmm.
which was beautiful as well.
Gorgeous
Like the
sequence.
lighting
Very
and everything, and
Fellini-esque.
her
Yeah.
just, oh my god, it was beautiful. And then whenever they do take that walk and they run in front of everybody else, and they are having just that good time before he gets out in that daze, and he is, maybe it is because like he is feeling the love again, and then it's like, oh well, I felt love before, well that's connected to the other world, now I'm in ghost, tomb raid mode. And it's because it does feel that he is obviously very different from the rest of the group. The rest of the group is
Mm.
in it for profit, and that's it. Get in, get out, sell it. That's all they care about. But he's kind of just the locator. The and that's it. Um, and he has his little stash, or whatever, I guess, in his little tree bin
Hmm.
barrel. But
I
um,
like to think that those were the things that belonged to the people he sees
the
on the
train.
train. Yeah.
Ah, yeah, the bell. That's what one of them
Yeah.
said. The bell, that
Yes.
was mine. The iron.
The lighter he carries is the
Uh
conductor.
huh.
So like it's
Oh,
I'm pretty sure that's what they all come from. And like
wow.
that's really cool. And there's a lot of things that almost feel like the sequences with the troubadour when he is literally singing about their lives.
Mm,
I severely doubt that that's quote unquote real.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that feels like a,
Mm-hmm.
but they use those moments to show the Tumbaroli watching him perform that. And both times he sings, Arthur walks away. He's absent. He's not there. He almost he can't have and doesn't process things in a worldly manner, like the stories, the way that he would be perceived in real life, that's not that's not important to him.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't his world. It doesn't matter what they think of him. He's got a bigger goal in mind. Because the second time is on the train. The second time is on the train where he runs into the um the previously dead
Mm-hmm.
people whose tombs he's raided. So I think that there is an interesting idea where he's drawn to that and away from the real world, if you will.
Wow.
It's almost like a call. Like again, it's almost like he's not in control of himself. The first time he starts singing, he just kind of like gets up and saunters out of the room as soon as he starts singing, and it's not really like he doesn't look thoughtful. He doesn't look like he's like, I don't want to hear this. It just kind of looks like this isn't for me. This
Mm,
isn't what I'm here for. Um,
yeah, because I guess him being underground and trapped there at the end, and the yarn being there, he could have just already died straight from that impact, and he is dead straight from there. Or like,
mhm.
he did live and he did walk down there, and they're whatever. But like, it felt like that is his resting place or whatever. That
Yeah.
that that's where he's done, and he finally that was the final thing. Sadly, that's what it took. Like he couldn't live in this world anymore. If the way he wanted to live.
Yeah. If he wasn't
And
going, like you just, yeah, I think it was off mic, but right before the episode, you said like the situation he had was like the perfect life.
mm,
If he wanted to settle down there, he could have, you know?
mm-hmm.
And if that's not fulfilling, nothing will be, you
Ah,
know?
I
Like if he can
see.
spend a night there and be like,
And be like,
this isn't what my
wow,
life is meant to be,
even
that
this.
means there
Yeah.
is no life for me beyond what I've been doing.
I see.
Um,
Because yeah, I mean, man, I don't know. Maybe there are just different people in the world, but that would seem like a perfect. I mean, obviously you could want more money and have nicer things and everything like that, but at the root cause right there,
that
that's
that place ruled.
that's a I don't know. That's a dreamscape. That's on the dream board. I don't know, or something. That's I'll file that away.
Living with
For
12
good.
women and children and being their servant. Deal.
I mean,
I'm in.
pancake. You know that little girl that was like, "Can you make pancakes?" I'm like, dude,
The
I
almost
would
like
love to make some pancakes.
chorus of voices at points in this movie whenever like the sisters would overlap with
Mm.
talking to each other, but like and it almost seemed like
Ah.
it was very specifically coordinated for like certain people to be prevailing at
Mm-hmm.
certain point in their tone. And that sequence at the end with all the women and children being like, can you do this, can you do this, can you do
Mm-hmm.
that, can you do this, could you do that,
The
could you do this,
growling.
Um,
I mean, like
oh,
on
that's my favorite scene. That is my
dude,
favorite scene in the
that
movie.
was like, oh man, it was like I knew, like with the water, like with the water over there, I'm like, please throw that thing over the edge. I'm like, just do it. I'm like, you got to get there. And so
You're not meant for human eyes.
I was hoping for it, and he faked me out though. He kept walking back in. I don't know. He walked back in before he threw it, and I'm like, wait a minute, are you? No? I'm like, hold on a minute, but just getting there, the whole unraveling of it all, and then seeing just how industrialized it is and how it's like, yeah, this is legitimate. It has legit documents. We know where it comes from. It's been carbon dated, blah blah blah. And it's like,
Hmm.
damn, how much of real archaeology is just grave
Plunder.
robbing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my
No, a
god.
lot of it. A lot of
Yeah,
it. That's
that's
what's, I mean, like, notoriously, museums are
yeah.
cool, but they're incredibly unethical places. Typically. If it's not a local museum where it is
Yeah.
the history of the place you are in, like we have a statue at the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art that's like from 200, 300 BC and it was made in Africa. It's like, why the fuck do we have that? Like, why the fuck is that in
Yeah.
Kansas City?
Uh
And
yeah, it's so
so
weird.
that's
Weird.
it's
There's
mhm.
a weird gray balance. It's like more people could see it here. You don't have to travel all the way there, but it's like, well, it was
Should
made
we
there, and that's where it belongs. Kind of, that's where the original people made it. If you want to see it, we have the beautiful internet now, and if you want to see it in
mhm,
person, I think
go
you
and do it?
you make the travel. That at least makes sense to me. But yeah, this I love I love archaeology, but this is definitely a side of it that I didn't even really think of. That
Yeah, there's a dark
definitely
side to it. There is a
occurs.
dark side
Yeah.
to it. And
Um,
that like that's what's interesting is that this movie makes a point to show that there are the down and out people trying to dig themselves out of a hole, kind of trying to make it. They are impoverished, but they're trying to make money. So what they have to do, it's a form of exploitation by the rich people who do run the museums and have that opportunity to buy and
mm,
collect these things. Is like, well, these motherfuckers will go out and do it, and I'm gonna go ahead and capitalize on it. I'm gonna go ahead and get the
damn.
benefits. Um,
Yeah, it's rough. I mean it was a very, I guess, grim movie on the cert. Like now talking about it, it seems like it. The more and
hmm.
more we bring up, but like I don't feel that way
No,
at
I
all.
don't
Like
at
I
all. I think it's actually a quite happy ending,
yeah
which is
yeah. It feels like stress relieved. Like it feels very like that the yarn cut. Like it was like the final or
they're no longer
or
tethered
or
to the
yeah.
earth. Yeah, like
Um.
they are beyond it now. And yeah, no, I felt an incredible
Wow.
like I was crying when I finished
Oh,
this last
dude.
night, dude. It
Yeah.
was
Oh my dude.
um
Yeah. No, I don't know. I feel like I cried. I'm trying to remember. I feel like I cried before.
You're Not Meant for Human Eyes was another one that did it for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. That's true. Um. That was a big
When
one.
he
Even.
reunites with Italia, whenever he's doing the whole sequence where he's getting cleaned up for her with her daughter and stuff, that was
Oh.
moving. It wasn't like a tear up moment, but it was
Yeah.
like,
It
oh,
was
this
just
is cute.
cute. Yeah. It
He's
was.
trying, he's trying again. And
Mm-hmm.
and then the realization that no matter how hard he tries to fit into this world, it's just not his. And I think that like kind of watching him
Mm-hmm.
get up and watching Italia watch him walk away was another one that hurt. Um,
Yeah. Damn. The slow arm feeling for him, and then she's like,
mhm.
"What?" And seeing him at the door, I was like, "No, yeah,
He's
no."
already gone. He's
Uh,
already gone. And I think that that's kind of a
Why does he have to be the same? Like in Challengers, he uses good looks to squat in places. At the core. This movie's very different. I don't want to put Arthur down at that level, but God damn it, does he use his good looks to just stay wherever he needs to. It works. Not in Emma though. Emma definitely a stranger character there.
Yeah, no, definitely a gold digger there in Emma.
Oh
Just
yeah.
trying to social climb. Um,
Yeah, but no, here I think this is my favorite Josh O'Connor so far. Well, I don't know. I guess I have to watch Challengers again. Cuz I liked his performance, but it wasn't who I was focusing on.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, as far as who like the character and the
but
performance by Josh O'Connor, I would say this is my favorite Josh O'Connor.
yeah, he's
I
leading,
and don't get me wrong,
and
I love him in Challengers.
hmm
There's some subtle stuff he does in Challengers that is just really fucking good.
oh
But
man, yeah, no, he did great. And he got. I mean, I don't really think there is another performance that.
no.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, like no,
Carol Duarte as Italia is really
yeah,
good. She got my character though.
yeah. I feel like, and if you want to give her, I can give Arthur the character. But even then, I don't know. I feel like it. I mean, like the most likable character there is. I mean, this is it. Just how can
I
you?
don't think Arthur's particularly likable. He's not particularly interesting, and I think that's a point of the movie. Like they are
He's
trying
just
to be
not
like
here. Yeah,
he's not
he's
here.
just.
This isn't where he belongs. This he feels out of place in every single aspect of his life, and
Mm,
Natalia almost gives him the illusion that he belongs, and the um and his gang of Tomb Raiders make him feel like, and even then he doesn't really fit in. They're a group of Italian Tomb Raiders, and he's an English guy who they're clearly taking advantage of.
mm.
They he
Oh, and that one wasn't there a different song, or maybe it was just the same song, but a different verse of it or something, where it was just like, um, push for profit, and that's all you care about is money. When at the end of the day, it's like, I don't like I feel like that. I don't, oh my God, what did they say there? Something about money and profit and, um, I don't know, like wanting. I feel like there's a philosophy of like giving up all of maternal and or just not maternal
material.
material value and going back to just root I don't know just
Hmm.
absolute necessity. I
Yeah,
feel like there's and they I feel like maybe that was brought up in that song, but I don't know. Um, or maybe the idea of it was brought up in the song,
right.
not
Yeah,
necessarily name
one of
dropped,
my
but
favorite one of my favorite lines in the songs was the Tombarolis are just a drop in the ocean. Like
mm,
they
hmm,
they seem larger and they seem like a big deal within the context of
mm-hmm,
the movie, but they're not the only ones doing this. They're not the only ones desecrating the earth. They're not the only ones desecrating what came before. Um, they're not the only ones. They are just a drop in the ocean. And I think that there is a really
whoa,
interesting relationship this movie has to the past and how time evolves. Like even the train he's on at the beginning looks much older than the train he's on at the end,
hmm.
which I think is interesting. Um, and I don't know if that's exactly purposeful, but I think that there is an interesting evolution towards the industrialized by the end of this movie versus the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and on the boat,
Um,
he's in the engine room, and you see
mhm.
the kachoka
They're
kachoka,
just
just
they're
another
just a
cog.
cog in the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
Only a pawn in their game, as Bob Dylan would say. But yeah, no, it's a
Hmm.
strong fucking movie, man. And I know I've already said this, but I adored the way it looked. I mean, there was not a single moment in this movie that I was like, "Oh, that's not good looking." There's a moment whenever Josh O'Connor is standing, like the way they photographed architecture and landscapes was utterly ravishing. When the two cars pull up to the what I think is about to be the vet or the pet store
Mm. Mm-hmm.
on the inside, but it's like a giant blue building, so it's clearly more than that. Gorgeous shot. There's a shot where Italia is rolling Flora out of her house and like
Oh.
the depth of field is really interesting because it looks like they're on the same plane, but
Mm-hmm.
obviously Arthur's much closer.
Oh yeah.
And dude, I mean, gorgeous, gorgeous shit. Whenever during the tomb raiding sequence, the montage, when the troubadour is singing, there's a beautiful shot where they lie on the ground and then they get up and run away, and you see the layers of the hills in the background, like just
Mm.
gorgeous shit all
Yeah.
over this
Yeah.
movie.
This I it might sound crazy at first. But definitely on this list, the only movie visually to compare is Casablanca, that we have
Yeah.
so far, and it's to say that this is visually better than Casablanca is I mean, I don't
It's different.
that's a
Yeah.
bold statement, but like it is at least it seems more beautiful, more pleasing to look at, you know, just off just it's nature. I don't know, it's color, it's beautiful. It's
No,
like
it's different.
it's
Yeah,
a
like
whole different
it
ball
is.
game
It
here.
is a whole different ball game.
Um
Yeah, and I think that this movie is beautifully lit. However, like whenever he wakes up on the train and you see the bar splitting his face, that's in the window and stuff, like
mm,
that's fucking gorgeous.
yeah.
And that yeah, so like it is hard to compare black and white photography to color photography. It's automatically a different ball game. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I would 100% agree. I do think this is more pleasing to the eye, but I also think that
Not
there's
as
not as much stagecraft at hand. There's not as
Yeah,
much. It's a
not
different
purpose
thing.
behind it.
Yeah.
It's just naturally already beautiful what they're
hmm
shooting, and
hmm
there is still thought behind it and the
Oh,
blocking of it all
100%.
and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I took down quite a few shots. I loved every time it did flip. And
Mm,
wasn't really clocking that it is like the between different worlds, but now I like it even more. That it flipped, and especially whenever he was like kind of like having what seemed like a panic attack and like it flipped really fat like
hmm
instantly and then he fell and then like
Yeah.
oh I don't know that was really cool. But ones that just looked really nice to me were they went into I think it was like the wasn't the grave they went into that had the big statue. It was before that. It was I think just during maybe the montage of just them kind
hmm
of going ham. But he finds some I think it might have been whenever he found the bronze rattle thing. Maybe, I don't know. I
hmm
think it might have been something else, but it was just he had his candle in his hand. I think it might have been off camera though, but it was lighting him, his face and just I don't know, it just looked really good. It was really close up on his face and just candle lit him and whatever he was holding looked really good. But I think my favorite shot that I will go with is it was just him standing in front of like that the factory in the
Yeah.
background and the water and he was looking out at it at first and then he just turned around kind of walked towards the camera kind of zoomed in on him as well and then it just
Yeah.
I mean man does he just looks really good on camera. I don't know and
Josh
he
O'Connor is a gorgeous fucking man.
yeah
That is a beautiful guy.
it
Um,
looked just so
yeah,
good.
no, that shot you're talking about, I actually saved it to my phone because it was fucking
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah, and I think it was
Um,
maybe during the song as well.
it
I think it
is.
was
It's
like maybe
during the grave robbing montage. It
yeah.
is.
Oh,
Um,
man. Yeah, that was really cool.
I
That
mean,
montage. Um,
well, and what's also really cool is thinking about what is over there, what he's looking at. I'm fairly certain that's the factory there in front of when he finds the statue. Um, that's what's on the shore there, you know, on the other
oh,
side. I'm pretty
okay.
sure it's like, and it's
Yeah.
like calling to him almost,
Okay,
you
so
know?
that's why he always just kind of comes there.
hmm
Yeah.
Like there's
And
something that's calling to him over there. And
cuz I guess they did
what,
find gold. Like I don't know, just even that
mhm.
random dude like found some gold or whatever. And maybe like I guess maybe there is like a big like that is the big treasure, actually,
hmm
what he is stumbling upon, and, and I guess he'll never be able to see it in the eyes of the people on Earth and the goons or whatever that'll go and dig it up right
The
afterwards.
goons. Yeah.
But in his eyes, he's where he wants to be, and
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. That stuff didn't matter in the first place. Because yeah, it didn't even really seem that he had like a love for archaeology. It was just because it was connected to the
A
dead or to
calling. Like
yeah.
there is something that is drawing him to it. It's not even something he
Wow.
seems particularly passionate about.
Dude.
And
Man, what these are man, just cool movies like The Cure
yeah.
or I always call it The Cure. Just Cure this like and movies that just get you to think of I don't know. I feel like this is very Greek mythology like
hmm
inspired. I don't know
Oh, very, very
and
deeply influenced by old
yeah,
mythologies. Yeah.
I like mythology movies
Mm.
grounded in our reality today is really cool. That's a cool concept. And I don't know. This really worked. This just I was in when I just heard Josh O'Connor in archaeology, but he wasn't even really in it for the archaeology really at all. And this movie is
God.
way
And
different than
again,
that.
I talked about it last week with Arrival. If there's a romance, it only makes it better for me. And you get two romances in this
Yeah.
movie that you don't know are actually unfolding alongside
Uh-huh.
each other. And like I got chills just thinking about it. Like it just made it
Ooh.
one of those movies where I watched it and I was just like, that's why I'm so glad I got to watch it last night. I couldn't do what you're doing now. I couldn't have finished it and hopped right on. I had to
Yeah.
sit with it. I had to think about it because I couldn't even articulate why this movie resonated with me the way it did when I finished it. Like all I knew when I finished it was that Josh O'Connor was really good. It was fucking gorgeous, and the ending made me cry. And then I had to evaluate why the ending made me cry and why what was happening there and all that. And like I worked backwards from there almost versus I just
Yeah.
let it wash over me and then I was like, "Oh my God, that movie was so fucking good." Like that was
That
kind
is
of how it
strange
went for me.
because I am at one point like I'm saying that I'm like he has everything he wants with Italia like in that train station like why is he leaving? But
Mhm.
even when I'm watching it, I'm not like screaming like no at the screen or I'm not like no no no. I'm already crying like at that point because I
Yeah.
like I'm like damn it. Like this is where the movie is
And it
going and
doesn't
like
feel
it can't.
wrong,
Yeah,
like
yeah, and it's good. It was good. So like and I didn't even know truly why I was crying, but I just was because it
Mhm.
felt right. It just felt like this even though it did feel right for him to stay and that I wanted him to stay and that it would be a
Well, and
nice
he's
happy
seeing the
ending.
red thread throughout the movie, and like, and that's what's cool too is that every dig, it feels like he's getting closer to that. That's something he's chasing. He's looking for the red thread.
Oh
That's
shit. That's what he's on the train with his buddies and then he looks I maybe, but he looks like up through the
hmm
ceiling and there like the red thread is
like
flowing or whatever.
dangling and
And then
blowing in yeah.
is that what transfers him into like seeing all the dead people or is that two different train rides?
I think it's the same
Um
train ride. I think it's the same train ride. But like,
huh.
yeah, no, like there is something calling to him, and that is the physical representation of it on screen is the red thread that is tied to Benjamina in the other plane. And I think that that's like
Wow.
there's just a really fascinating metaphysical
Whoa.
gorgeous idea this
Whoa.
movie's playing with, and I adore it. I absolutely
It's
loved La
like
Chimera. Um,
it's like your life. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too philosophical and mytholic. I don't know. Whatever now.
mythological.
But like it's like your life is actually just like you're cooking. You're actually just gaining all the knowledge you need for your
Yeah.
real life to start in the after. I don't know. Like you're cooking
Well, and
your
that's
soul sort of thing.
right, right. And that's
And
what's interesting about the idea of, past lives and something another great fucking
oh
movie.
yeah,
But
good
no,
movie. But
I didn't mean
past
it like
lot,
that.
yes,
Yeah, but past
reincarnation sort
lives
of. Yeah.
and what comes next, Like if there is something after this, what makes it any less important than the life we're leading now? If there was a life before this, what made it any less important than the life we're leading now? And I think that this movie really emphasizes that
Mm,
if there is life on the next plane, it has as much value as this one does. And if you are drawn to that plane, if there is a calling to you, they're, not in a
yeah.
not in a certain type of way, but like
Feels weird. It feels weird to be like, hey, just go out and it feels like cultish to be like, yeah, just fucking go out and trust your if you have a calling that feels undead to you, go out and do. But like, no, like there is like I don't know. There's
well, and it doesn't have to be undead. If
there
there's anything that feels like a
it's
calling,
just
if there is something
yeah.
that is like,
Mm,
this is what I'm supposed to do. Some people call that feeling God. Like some people
mm,
like that is what religion is built upon. Is
yeah.
like people being like, "Oh, well, God is leading me to do this. Like this is what God wants me to do." And that might very well be it. I don't know. It might just be that you know what you want deep down,
Yeah.
but maybe there is some otherworldly control that is drawing you certain places. And I think that this movie plays with those ideas
Whoa.
in super compelling and really grounded way which is really fascinating. There's like a magical realism to this movie where like
Mhm.
stuff isn't quite real, but it's all grounded in very real settings and real places. You can tell it's taking place on Earth.
Mhm.
It's never like, oh, we're in some mythological plane now. I can't
Mm-mm.
tell where this isn't a city in the clouds or
Yeah.
anything. Like
But his
it's
clothes are very his outfit is very different. It's
Mhm.
just simple. And like when he puts on a pink shirt for the first time, is whenever he's trying to really try to live life and give it its fullest try, and even then it doesn't quite work. But it has man, and this the more and more I talked about, I mean, I already loved it. I already put it pretty high up on just my favorites of all time, which isn't even in order, anyways. But it found its way into like the 40s,
Mhm.
40s already. So I mean, I'm loving it even more now that I'm
Yeah,
having
no,
all
like
of these thoughts
it was
connect
one
and
of those
everything.
ones where like I went and logged on Letterboxd and I threw it a 5, and then I was like, no, like it was no question. I was like, yeah, this is a 5, and then I had to like evaluate why I felt
Uh,
that way. Like there was no like I didn't have a reason. I was just like this again, it was like a calling. It was like, yes, this was a movie for me. It felt right. Like there was no and then just thinking about it more and more and more, it occupied my thoughts all day and it occupied my thoughts until I fell asleep last night and I was just
hmm.
like, God, I loved the movie. I loved it so much. So,
Wow.
um I cannot wait to eventually watch it again. It's not one that I particularly need to anytime soon. However, I think it could be a very rich rewatch. And
Yes.
it was
Unlike
one of those ones
Arrival.
where it ended,
Unlike.
and yes, it ended, and I was like, I'm ordering that on Blu-ray.
This is a physical one. This one's
hmm
beautiful. Yes,
hmm
this one
It's available for
deserves it.
pre-order now. You can get it by June 10th.
Oh,
So
yeah, this
you
one
want it.
deserves that tier of physical copy for sure. And yeah, definitely unlike Arrival in the sense that there's no even the twist here. There is kind of a twist at the
A little
end,
bit, a little
a
bit.
little bit there, but no, not in the sense where it's like, oh, now I know the big twist, so it's not satisfying anymore. And now that I know the twist, it'll honestly make it more satisfying whenever I
It will
watch it. Um,
knowing what he's being drawn to and knowing what he's chasing and know like I don't know if you read the letterbox description. Oh my God, if I had read that before I watched the movie, I would have been fucking pissed. Um, like I feel like that's an interpretation of the movie, not the movie as it's being laid out before you. Um,
Ah, so literally out of jail with his buddies, grave robbers, yeah, literal events like here.
yeah, like it's well, and that's the other
Um,
thing too, is that like it's just I'll read it for those listening. Just out of jail and still searching for his late beloved Benjamina, crumpled archaeologist Arthur reconnects with his wayward crew of Tombaroli accomplices, a happy-go-lucky collective of itinerant grave robbers who survive by looting Etruscan tombs and fencing the ancient treasures they dig up. Arthur isn't interested in the artifacts, though. He's seeking a legendary door to the underworld and to Benjamina, which is like never actually stated during the movie. It never actually, like, the revelation at the end of the movie is that that's what he was searching for, you know?
to say like the whole description they have is very literal, and then to have in the last line, he's seeking a legendary door to the underworld. Just to throw that in there is kind of wild.
I don't think you
After
need the
that,
last, like, yeah, like, I was
like
like, dude, I read
like
it after and I was like, fuck, if I would have read this before, I'd be kind of pissed, you
mhm.
know? Because then I'd be watching the movie like, what the fuck makes them think he's searching for the fucking underworld? And then you get to the end and you'd be like, oh, so the description literally just spoils the fucking ending. That's what
Yeah,
it is.
that's
Um,
that's a yeah, that's a bad. I don't know why they need to include that there, but because it's not very obvious from the beginning whatsoever.
mm-mm.
Yeah, no, and that's the only reason I logged it a 4.5 because of just the first act. At first, it was
Takes a while
beautiful
to
and I
get
had
going.
nothing wrong with it. Yeah, I mean, like I was vibing with it and it was great to look at. It was just I don't know. I didn't know where the movie was going at all. And so I don't know. It was just
And the first act does not give you a sense of where it's going either.
but it
It
comes back
will,
around. Yeah.
yeah, like now if you
So
watch it again, the first act
mhm.
will hit like a motherfucker is kind of how I
Cuz he wakes
anticipate it.
up on the train like he whether he is already in a different plane already and this isn't Earth, you know, and he is dead from the beginning. It is either it may be that or it is just like he feels dead, you know. He can he
Yeah.
is on
I
Earth but he's dead,
there is
you
a
know.
there's
Um
another astral self kind of thing happening, you know.
mhm. And yeah, I don't know. I think I draw more towards that one, you know, the latter there, that he is actually on Earth, but
I do
not
too. Yeah.
not full.
I don't
His
think he's
soul
literally
isn't
entering
here.
another
Yeah.
world. Yes, his soul,
Um.
that's the emptiness inside him. Is his soul isn't here. He's almost searching for it because it died with Benjamina is kind of how I view
Mm-hmm.
it.
And man, even like his house that he, you know, or his little shack that he built, you know,
Mm,
himself. And I love that Italia is even like, man, it's incredible what you've built here. You know, like she's all loving it, and like she is like literally perfect. Like I guess,
yeah.
and I think that is kind of the point of her character now talking through it. But even like as it's getting just taken away, you know, it's just for that factory. Is that like what are they
I
building
think
there? Is
so.
that like the
Well, I think it's just a further idea of the industrialization. It might not be that factory, but like they are tearing down the countryside in order to build something that is
okay? Because I was trying to think of like maybe that house that we see him go into is not like that is his grave, and the factory is building over it, exposing his grave, and that he has been dead or something, you know, something like
right,
that.
right.
But
Yeah,
it
no.
doesn't
He
seem
goes
that
there
way.
after it's been torn down, right before he goes to Ripperbella, the train station,
Mm-hmm.
with um
Because
the
it
little girl.
feels. I guess if you know he wakes up on the train, supposedly coming back from jail and whatever. Like it doesn't feel like his I don't know. It doesn't feel like he has a like it feels like this is a lesson that he is just having to go through. This doesn't feel like part of his life. I don't know. Like this
Hmm.
it is it doesn't
Almost
feel
a trial. You
mhm.
know, like it almost feels like the only way he can reach Benjamina is by learning the lessons from Italia. Italia had to teach him. You know, like what he learns from Italia is that this isn't his home, but he also realizes the wrong he's
Mm.
doing. You know, like there is a guilt that comes with what he's doing, but he can't help but chase it. He needs to find what it's telling him to find. Um,
Cuz every I'm trying to think of the visuals of like if there's anything that gives any inclination of how she died, of any like
No,
I
I don't
don't
think there
think
is a
there's anything.
single, like
Like
every time we see Benjamina, I'm fairly certain it is the other plane and her
where they're
calling
like
him.
embracing at the like
Yeah, I
where
don't think it's like a flashback. I don't think it's a memory. I think he's seeing her on the other side. Um,
ah
and now, I mean, a rewatch might recontextualize that, but I think
mhm
rewatching knowing that will make the movie hit like a fucking
yeah
truck from the
oh
fucking
dude
beginning. Um,
dude wow yeah this is one that definitely warrants a rewatch, that's for
hmm.
sure. And man and a great man, a one that you haven't seen either. I'm glad, you know, that makes me feel a lot more comfortable maybe throwing in one that I haven't
Oh,
seen.
dude, the
um
run of the ones I haven't seen for the last few are fucking strong. I mean, because we've done what? Pure, Arrival, and then now this. Three for three movies I haven't seen, three for three movies that instantly became all-time favorites. So like
yeah
and now I've got two movies left to choose. I'm thinking I'm gonna go with one I've never seen before and cap it off with one that I have and love. You know, I think I'm gonna split it. I'm gonna go three movies I haven't seen, three movies I have. And I think that's kind of how I'm gonna do it. But yeah,
hmm
no, man. I loved this movie. I feel like I've kind of exhausted at least my deeper thoughts about the movie. I don't know how much deeper I could dive. Um, Is there anything we've left out favorites wise?
I think lines. I mean, I guess we haven't just explicitly said. But I mean, I'll go with Italia's saying of that those things aren't made for human eyes, but for eyes of souls. Her, and then she got laughed at, but it was a that was a tear up moment for me. I was like, you
Oh,
know
it
what,
was.
hell
It
yeah,
was.
stand up for yourself, and even the other girl that was there, kind of like got in the
Ends
car
up
with her, ends up there at
Yeah,
the train
yeah,
station
yeah,
too.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
that was really
Wins
cool.
wins her over,
Yeah.
like that's and that was one of the moving things too, is that Italia represent like, and that's a good example of what Italia can be for people, and what she isn't for Arthur.
Mm.
She draws somebody away from this life into hers, into her orbit, and into this peace that she's created, and it
Oh
it can't work on
man,
Arthur.
it's like
Um,
it's like whenever they start growling at each other at the end and like
love
on the
that
boat
scene.
and stuff. It's like
God, I love that.
he's kind of in his other plane. Like whenever he's
Hmm.
watching them at that point, and it's almost like when you're in the afterlife, things are simplified down to that form. Like
Hmm.
it might sound like they're arguing in complex English and their insults are throwing left and right, but yeah, that's all that's happening
Another
there is
connection
like
to the animals, like they're
ah,
making the animal noises.
yeah.
They're not, you
It's just
know.
base animal instincts what they're doing, they're
Hmm.
not
And at that point in the argument, all they're going is nuh-uh, yeah, nuh-uh,
yeah.
yeah. They're literally repeating the
No,
same thing back and forth,
it's the
you
best.
know,
It's the best argument you can make ever. To any you can say nuh to
Mhm. To
anything and it works.
anything.
But no, yeah,
Nuh-uh.
I love that everyone I used to be like, well, humans are just animals. We are animals too, and we, at the end of the day, we have instincts. But like, there is something that sets us apart. I don't know. We have the choice to not uh, give in to our instincts. I feel like that is the maybe it's the happenstance of just the civilization we've built that allows us to not have to be wild and kill each other and everything. But like, I think that is what sets us apart is that we don't
Mm.
have to resort to our base instincts every day, and we can create. Like, I don't we no other creature. I mean, like a beaver creates a dam, but that is
A
for
bird creates a
survival. They
nest, yeah.
create their homes. It's like it's out of survival. We create things out of fun and for
Hmm.
prosperity and for whatever.
Love
So
for
yeah,
passion,
it's like
yeah.
that's kind of cool. And now this kind of thought of that I'm cooking my soul right now. Even if I don't maybe particularly believe in an afterlife, I don't. It might be there. That's the thing. It,
Hmm.
it could be there. And I'm more of like I'll live my life now so that if it's
Right,
not, I lived it to the fullest potential. But if it is, then I guess I am cooking my soul to the fullest
yeah.
potential too.
When it comes to
So.
the afterlife, I know faith is very important and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's literally no fucking way for us to know what the afterlife actually is. I know we've got a lot of it set up as like, well, you can go to heaven or you can go to hell. It's like, you fucking know that though.
No.
Like and I know
No.
that's faith. That's what faith is, and I'm not trying to yeah, I'm
True.
not trying to piss off any Christians. Like that is I get that is
Maybe it could be
the
that
base. It
simple.
could be. It
It
could
could,
be. Like,
but
and that's why I'm going like it could be, and I don't know. I'm not
you
going it
don't
could be,
know
and therefore I
until
must
you
trust,
know. You don't know until you know. And I've gotten close a couple times actually. And there's been some weird shit, I will say. It could have just been
Mm,
my brain tripping balls because I'm there, but I don't know. It's gotten me to think about it a little more.
mm,
It's been like, okay, we don't know everything, and you don't
right,
know the afterlife, sadly, until you're there.
right.
And there's yeah, that
Or unless you're Josh O'Connor's character Arthur in the movie La Chimera.
true. It would be nice, yeah, if I don't know, maybe we do have people out there, that do have this, but we just don't know because it's not, it would be seen as funny or like,
Insane.
yeah, it'd be like, yeah, you're stupid and you're dumb but yeah, um. I don't know. It'd be weird, if there is just someone out there that's just robbing graves right now, being seen as a criminal, but in
They're
reality,
like, I'm
they're
chasing my
like,
dead wife.
"Damn,
Yeah,
yeah, my past love." I don't know. It seems that she was never even in this world to begin with. I don't know. Like
right.
she was maybe that he was just born and he was like, just fuck. Like why? Like
There's
why?
an
Like
ethereal, otherworldly presence about her throughout this movie. Yeah. No,
maybe
it's I like Benjamina.
he is just to allow humanity to discover that temple, you
Right,
know,
right.
and that's all he needed because he just needed to die at the end of the day, you know. His body was just sadly it was a very sexy human body that was wasted on, you know,
Damn.
just whatever. But
There's a scene when he's
um,
grilling in like a button-down shirt and he's not
yep,
wearing anything underneath,
yep,
and I was like, yep,
yep, yep.
that,
And he's seen as skinny too, and it's like he because he's not eating and he's like homeless and like or
yeah.
like whatever, and he's still
He
looking.
actually he filmed half of this movie before he filmed Challengers, and he filmed half of it after. So if there are scenes where he looks fucking huge compared to other parts of the
There
movie,
were, yeah.
it's because he was filming Challengers prior.
There were. Yeah,
Um,
he definitely yeah. No. Challengers is I mean, I watched that movie and then I took it upon myself to be like, yeah, I'll make a change in my life. I'll be like,
yeah.
yeah,
I
that's
played tennis for 4 hours earlier this week.
chal- Challengers is really life-changing, you know. I don't it's
I've lost 40 pounds since watching Challengers.
Josh O'Connor and Zendaya and who's
And Mike Faced.
and thank
Ooh,
you.
Mike
Just
Faced.
thank you. It was really him
Mhm.
just sitting in his apartment doing his
Yeah,
little routine and his little
yeah.
his shakes and stuff and I'm like, "You know
Him
what?
sitting in that chair and then going,
Yep."
like I remember being like, yeah,
I
yeah,
was like,
no,
"Okay.
I gotta try a little harder, don't I?
Okay.
That was kind of how that
It's got
went.
to come from somewhere." Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, damn it. It's like, fuck. It's there. There's a reason why, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no. It continues. Even whenever he's supposed to look shriveled up and not malnourished, he's still
They do it with the makeup
looking
a
great.
little bit. The makeup is effective.
Mhm. His
Well, he
beard
starts
and
to
the
look like a
longer hair
skeleton,
and
He
yeah.
starts to look like the bags under his eyes go deeper and he gets
Hmm.
really carved up here and it's like so I think there's something to the idea that they're trying to progressively make him look like he's closer to death than he is living.
Yeah.
I mean when
Um
the movie starts they're talking about how he stinks, like how he smells of death essentially, like it's not like it's interesting. I love the movie, man.
huh.
So
Hmm.
I'm super happy that that Emily decided we'd watch La Chimera
Thank you,
last night.
Emily. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Boom.
I gave her two options for those listening. I was like, we can watch this or we can watch this. Tell me which one you prefer because I can't decide. And she chose La Chimera. So shout out to Emily. That's why we got to watch one of my new favorite movies of all time. And it rocks. I might end up watching the other one. That's why I'm not saying what it
Mm.
is, just in
Yeah.
case I end up wanting to choose it. Um,
Hmm.
but
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, that's I got a little bit of that going on. That's I guess well maybe I'll save that actually. That'll be I
All
don't know
right.
whenever we're actually doing that. The next one, but yeah, we haven't even rated this one, so
Yeah.
I gotta
Yeah.
hold my horses here.
Yeah. But you know what?
But
We're there. We're there. So I'll go ahead and do the plugs. After we do the plugs, we're gonna rate this movie on a scale of 1 to 10, enjoyment and critical. Joseph is going to announce his penultimate cinema surprise for season one. And then we are going to do album of the week. And I'm very, very excited for that as well.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you would, head to patreon.com/pennybloom pod where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content, all sorts of book reviews, comic book reviews, movie reviews, early access content, and the Penny Bloom Dispatch. For those who are listening on the Cinema Surprise page, you can listen on the Penny Bloom podcast as well. However, that show is going to dramatically change after Cinema Surprise and House of the Dragon season 2 ends, and it will become the Penny Bloom Dispatch essentially, which is just segment-based entertainment news or archaeology, as Joe has dived into a little bit deeper. Just segment-based stuff, not super. We've been all over the place in the past, and we want to once a week focus things a little bit. But right now, we are doing a trial run essentially on Patreon, working out the kinks, how we want that show to flow, how we want that show to run. Um, it's going to be much more timely, um, much more relevant, not just whatever we want whenever we want. So you can get that for free on patreon.com/pennybloom pod. Um, to gain access to all the other stuff, it will be $1.50 a month, which is huge because it costs me money and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there. Head to Twitter, follow at Penny Bloom Pod, follow on Instagram and TikTok at Penny Bloom Podcast. Um, Twitter is really the place you need to be, though, if you want any updates on when Cinema Surprise season 2 is coming. And we've got other surprises as well. Not going to announce those yet officially, but we do have other surprises coming for Cinema Surprise, even ahead of season 2. So you're gonna want to be on the Twitter. You're gonna want to know when those things are coming because I think anything in between might just randomly pop up. I don't know. Um, but we've also got the Sentimentalists coming up here in a couple months. Any updates on that? We've got a couple other things we're thinking about doing. So if you want to know, Twitter at Penny Bloom Pod. That is where you will find everything you need to know about what we're doing. You can also follow me on Twitter at Coro_Bloom. If you have any interest, you can follow Joe at Super Shorty Joe. Um, and
I always forget that that's my Twitter.
yeah,
Um, man, I made that. I don't even know whenever I first made that, but I'm never
super
changing
short.
it. I'm never
Super. I
changing
mean,
it.
it works perfect. I kind of fucking love it.
I'm never changing
But
it.
yep,
But
Super Shorty Joe and Coro_Bloom. Um, so you can watch all that over there. Follow us, follow the podcast, keep up with us in any way you can. Follow me on Letterboxd at Colton Robertson. You can follow Joe on Letterboxd. I don't know what your
I think
handle
it's
is,
Rager
but
JG over there. Maybe it'd be nice to
Rager
make
JG.
them. Can I can I
Yeah,
can I change that? Is that a
you
thing I
can
can
change it.
change? Yeah,
Yes,
maybe
yes, you
I'll
can change it to Joseph
sync them up
George
to Super
from.
Shorty Joe if that's not
Oh,
taken, so I
Super
can
Shorty
sync them
Joe.
up. I don't
Good
know. Maybe
call.
that's
Good
funny.
call.
Maybe I don't know.
Um,
Maybe I will go under a change. I don't know. I'll give it some thought.
We'll
Actually,
we'll see. We'll see. So, but
but
yeah, in the meantime, you can follow me on Letterboxd, and you actually would find that you'd have to scroll pretty far down my diary to find the movies we've been covering
mm-hmm.
lately.
Ah,
We're quite
yeah.
ahead of the ball game in comparison to when this is coming out. So yeah, a lot of stuff, but Twitter is the place to be at Penny Bloom Pod. You can also watch on YouTube now. Just look up Penny Bloom Podcast. That's where everything is. We haven't really divulged into breaking up the other shows stuff for other YouTube. I feel like that's a lot. And we're even debating scrapping video. So like there might not be a YouTube for long. There is a YouTube for now though, so you ought to be over there if you want to watch us. Yeah, and then leave a 5-star rate and review and download wherever you might be listening. If you're listening on Cinema Surprise, please download. If you are not listening on Cinema Surprise, do. I would prefer it actually. I would like if you started giving Cinema Surprise the boost it needs to get off the ground and make us feel a little bit, like we're going somewhere with it. Because season 2 will be Cinema Surprise exclusive. It will no longer be available on Penny Bloom Podcast. Um, but yeah, the plugs are getting quite
Mm.
lengthy now. Now that there's so much going on and so many changes happening. So,
It's true.
um, but let's go ahead and rate this thing. Uh, You're there.
I'm there now. Yeah, I mean 4.5
Fuck
on
yeah.
Letterbox before, and then after talking through it, it was just the first act. That was my only holdup, and
Hmm.
just how slow. Just it was a little slow, but now whenever I rewatch it, there's no way I see it that way. Like it,
Hmm.
it is instantly it's different. For sure. So yeah, no, I'm there. I already changed my letterbox rating as well.
Fuck
Up to
yeah.
up to a 5.
Fuck yeah.
So yeah,
We
no, I'm
ride. I
yeah.
haven't had to use a Sumai yet. So like you mean 10.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, no, 10 here. Yeah,
Okay,
10
cool.
enjoyment. Yeah, no, I'm
Cool. I
there.
thought I
I'm
would have
there.
to. I thought today would be the day that I might have to Sumai a 10.
No.
Um,
No, I mean, I guess
what's that? Three straight? Is
I
that three straight 10 enjoyments?
Cure Arrival and yeah, La Chimera
God
now.
damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a few good fucking weeks, baby.
If it wasn't a 10, I mean, it would have been a 9.75 for
Yeah,
me. I
yeah.
mean, before, and that was with that was my only gripe.
Yeah, when
So,
you had a gripe. Yeah, no,
yeah.
like that's
Um,
yeah, no, I
uh,
struggle to find anything I think is wrong with this film even. I do think that perhaps it's a little lengthy. Maybe it's a little long in the tooth. But that it's still extremely well edited and I think on a rewatch I'd have no issue with the length, like I don't think that that would be something because it was the first act, the first 45 minutes you are kind of like, okay, where are we going with this? But now that I know where it was going, I'm like, oh, the first act kind of fucking ripped is kind of how I recontextualize it in my head. So I'm like, I mean, it's beautiful to look at. It's exquisitely well performed. Carol Duarte, Josh O'Connor, and Isabella Rossellini are kind of the highlights. Um,
let me ask you, Is it Casablanca level?
The screenplay is not Casablanca level.
That's
Everything else is pretty close to being Casablanca level, and that's and even then, I can't tell you that Josh O'Connor's as good as Humphrey Bogart. I can't tell you Carol Duarte's as good as Ingrid Bergman. So like
mm,
it's one of those things where like I have to go lower than Casablanca.
the next step down is Cure at a 9.5 though, and
I'd say it's every bit as good as Cure.
that one I can 100% say. I might even like if I
If I
could,
could
yeah,
split the difference,
do
yeah,
a little split. It critically there on my just kind of my overall favorites. I have this one at my 4 right now for the total cinema surprise. And it is only um the only ones that are above it. It's Tron. Tron had to be up there, but that's
of
3
course.
actually. It's not 1, it is 3.
Damn.
I have Cure at number 2 and Arrival at number 1. Just some new movies that have really
Okay.
shaking up my game. But I have
Okay.
Casablanca at 5 actually, which is kind of nuts. And
Yeah.
like my
No, if I had
favorite,
to,
just pure favorites of like ones that I know I'm gonna keep coming back to
right,
and
right.
stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
So
tough. I think this would be three, actually, for me. I think I would go off the top of my head, Casablanca. My two, three, four are really hard because they're Cure, this,
yeah,
Arrival. And I don't know.
they
I
all
like them
kind of
all
feel
for
good.
vastly
Mm-hmm.
different reasons, which is like but those are my top four comfortably. Um,
Yeah. So are we in agreement on a 9.5 there though, critically?
yes,
Then
100%. I am
okay.
perfectly okay with that. So
Then
rounds out to the same as Cure.
same as Cure and not quite the same as Arrival. Arrival not made quite as well as this, and I agree with that.
Hmm.
And yeah, so 96.6. Another 666 one in there. Kind of funny. We do have another
The
here we
Underworld,
go.
yeah.
But yeah, 97 percent there. Definitely deserving.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, I fucking loved it. I fucking loved it. So I'm happy. I'm like it makes me want to do more of the ones I haven't seen, but I know that to cap it off, I want to do one I'm like certain
Mm,
I'm like I know is going to hit, but like I'm gonna do one more. I think my next pick will be one I haven't seen before.
mm,
Um and I'm excited for that.
yeah.
But yeah, then with that at a 97%, that closes the episode on La Chimera. And now, do you want to do album of the week or do you want to go ahead and announce your cinema surprise?
My album does connect to the movie. So I guess
Then go
we
ahead, do your
could.
album, and
Yeah,
let's do that.
we could do that. I mean, during the movie, I was listening and I texted you during this. I'm like, wait a minute, is this Daft Punk? I had like I had to actually stop and think for a second. It was not. It was Mr. Oh man, I had it pulled up. Dang it. I closed my Apple Music right before this.
Mr. Machine or something
Mr.
like that.
Mr.
It was Kraftwerk on the album
Yeah,
The Man
the
Machine.
Man Machine. There it is. Yeah, the Man Machine by Kraftwerk with a K. And the song that's in there is Space Lab. It's track 2. And I already added that one. I loved that that track, and all the rest of them are definitely the same vibe. They're all very techno. And they have just that I don't know what to call that voice, like the synthy voice, like the robotic, just like
Right, right.
I don't know. It's just really satisfying to me.
Future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's only music I listen to whenever I'm like doing homework or whenever I need to kind of like lock in.
Lock in.
And like
Yeah.
I feel like I just become robotic almost, and this it gets me there. So this album is perfect for that. I used to use just a lot of Daft Punk, but now this has opened me up to the 70s and a lot of just early there's a lot more out there that I have not listened to. So this is I did say that I would expand my horizons from last week and that I wouldn't do something that I
Mm,
know. And I'm glad that I did find something new and something that I'll be going down the rabbit hole even further. So yeah, Kraftwerk. Um, some
beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful way to cap off July. This is the last album of the week
Oh
for the month of
wow.
July. And I am going with Blue by Joni Mitchell. Um, fucking just one of the greatest albums of all time. Uh, I have it on CD upstairs, and absolutely gorgeous work. I love the song Carrie. I love the song California. There's uh there's a glee to those songs that the rest of the album, there's a few tracks that bleed through, but Blue, it's a pretty melancholic album. It's not
Mm-hmm.
exactly positive, and that's why La Chimera felt like the right one, where it permeates this energy that almost like by the end of it I feel good and I feel like it's nice,
Mm.
but it wasn't particularly happy, and I think that kind of fit the vibe here. So I went
Okay.
with Blue by Joni Mitchell.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, mine. Robotic. I don't know. Doesn't I haven't really. I've only listened to the first 3 or 4 tracks of the album so far. It didn't really seem it was going anywhere sad or blue.
Yeah, right,
Was
right.
yeah, very weird part. I don't know. Very different part of the
Dropped in,
score.
yeah.
And just boom was out of nowhere. And I'm like,
I've
okay.
actually been listening to a
Um.
playlist which is just songs from the movie because they don't have a soundtrack. It's
Mm. Mm-hmm.
just a
Collection of
compilation
songs.
of
Yeah.
songs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking it bangs. But
Wow.
yeah, no,
Okay.
I love it. I love it. But with that, what is your penultimate cinema surprise for season one?
Well, technically, I don't know. I don't know yet. There are 2 movies that I have here, and I am okay with either of these 2 movies, but I actually just need you. You are the deciding factor, and I'm not even going to let you know on which movie is which, or like to describe
Oh,
which one they are. I just
I
need, I cannot make the decision myself, and I need one just to happen first. They are
mm,
both I have not seen either of them. One
okay,
is
love that.
just one that I've barely seen. Only like literally the first 20 minutes of, but it is so very vastly different movies, completely different.
Different eras.
I need oh very different eras.
Okay, okay.
Maybe there. I'll give you that. Maybe that I'll give you some choice to it. One is old and one is new in the 20s. So I guess we have had a 20s
Mm,
movie.
mm.
So maybe if you want I'll let that decision up to you. Do you want to stay new or do you want to go back and have an older movie?
My next one was gonna be old.
We could go back to back or we
We
could
could go back to back. We
I
could
guess
go back to back.
I guess it probably will go back to back anyways cuz I
I'm gonna
probably
go
will take the other movie. I'm not going to lie.
right, right.
Um
I'm gonna go old. I'm gonna go old. Give me the old one.
Okay. Well, we're going old. And we're going silent. It is. I watched the first 20 minutes of this. This is the Passion of Joan of Arc, 1928. Whenever I don't know, I think it was just the first 15 minutes. I saw a few teardrops. Just from, just from. I saw just how gorgeous a silent movie. I don't know. It was already just so good, and I want to get a silent movie under my belt. And also Babylon. This is one in that massive checklist that I
Mhm.
eventually want to. It's kind of a long term bucket list, or not a just a list that I want to check off eventually. So yeah,
Beautiful.
the Passion of
Old,
Joan of
old.
Arc,
Love it. Love it.
1928. Yeah, wanted to take it
Okay.
way
I
back.
have seen that one. I have seen that one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited. I'm excited because that's a damn good movie. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a damn good story. I mean, Joan of Arc. It's a real fucking person.
Yeah,
So like,
and I've never even
yeah,
heard it. Like I
history.
know
Um,
of the name, but I don't even
mhm,
know of the story. So
mhm.
it is I don't know one that I've just
Uh,
wanted to get around to,
I'm excited for
and
that then. I'm
so yeah.
excited to get a silent film in. I was curious if that's where you were taking it when you said silent film because
Mm-hmm.
there's a few goodies that I've watched. I was curious if you were gonna go Charlie Chaplin with it or
Mm-hmm.
stick in that realm or yeah, yeah. All right. Hell
But
yeah. Then
yep. Okay.
after La Chimera, we're gonna go back nearly 100 years. We're going back 95 years to cover
Damn.
The Passion of Joan of
Mm-hmm.
Arc, and
And
that is a fantastic fucking
we're
film. So
digging
I'm
up a
very ready.
grave. We are digging up,
Yeah.
and letting these actors live again. As
Mm.
in Babylon. I forgot what character in Babylon said that, but
It was
some.
played by Jean Smart, the journalist. I can't remember
Mm-hmm.
who she was,
Yes.
but yeah.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah. Whatever their character name was, but perfect. Yeah. But yeah, I guess definitely the oldest movie I'll ever see. That's for sure. That it's gonna be the next oldest one. But yeah, I can't. I don't know. I'm eager. I'm eager to get to it. So and finally
I'm excited. I'm
actually
excited.
watch it. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So does that mean your other one is going to be your last one, you think?
Probably. I'll probably still
Gotcha.
stick with it.
Gotcha.
I was really hoping you would choose this one. Actually, this is the I was
Yeah.
kind of leaning more towards it. Not gonna lie. But the other one I
Both
still
of
really, really
my
want to see. So.
both of my older ones that are on the table potentially are still far more contemporary than 20s. So like
Mm.
it
Okay.
won't feel like quite as big a throwback if I go with one of them. But
Okay.
yeah. All right. Beautiful. Then next week on Cinema Surprise, we will be covering our first ever silent film on the Penny Bloom podcast
I guess
in
true.
The Passion of Joan of Arc, and I cannot wait for it. You better be there. And with that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And you are not made for human eyes.